Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Harry Maguire speaks out about the drama surrounding him. Can I just say, that's not from Man United, this is from England. It's the same old shit every international break. We have to deal with the fallout of what Southgate's selection causes. He wasn't an issue before he went to England, no one was talking about him. He comes back from England and we have to deal with the big drama that's out there. So Maguire has spoken, basically here to stay, refusing to go. He's spoken. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about what actually happened from the West Ham side. Kevin Nolan, who's a coach at West Ham, has been speaking about this, but so has Harry Maguire. Erik ten Hag has an injury nightmare ahead of the weekend. We'll talk about who's fit, who's not, who's a doubt. Big games coming up against Brighton and also against Bayern Munich. I can't wait for those games, but who will be playing in those games? Also, I think there is something that you good, intelligent people will have picked up that the mainstream ex-players and the vast majority haven't picked up on. There was a massive clue in the summer transfer window of what Erik ten Hag wanted to do. And people have just swept it under the carpet because it doesn't suit their brain or their, agendas. So we'll talk about that as well. Also, United linked to Kvaratskhelia yesterday. Complete crap. We'll talk about why it's crap as well. Lots to get into this morning, and it's Thursday. And I'm not, Thursday for us United fans can be a day where you wake up with a cold sweat. It's Europa League night, but we're not doing that this year. And actually, Thursday is the start of the weekend, especially when it hits the afternoon. And this weekend, Premier League football is back, so we're ready for that. So let's have a look at what's been said by Harry Maguire on his failed move to West Ham. First of all, let's start with the summer and not the now. He said, "We just didn't come to an agreement. Man United were happy for me to stay, and I was happy to fight for my place. I want to do that, and every time I train or play, I will give everything." Not good enough. Sorry. Not good enough. I don't know what that's supposed to mean anymore. Maybe it's getting somebody a little bit excited this morning, but I want to do every time I train or play, I will give everything. Not enough. Not enough. I don't care whether it's Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Anand, Casemiro, Harry Maguire. I will do everything and give everything when I play for this shirt. No, not enough. Sorry, mate. Sorry. It's just no one's ever doubted that, mate. Nobody's ever doubted that you don't give everything. I think he's going to play against Brighton, so I'm going to come against this from a very mature angle. I don't want to see hate. I don't want to see boos. I don't want to see any of that. Obviously it's people's personal opinion, but I think he's going to play against Brighton, so I hope he plays well. But again, he's just not got the memo, has he? He's turned up in his Speedos and we're going on a walk up Everest. It's going to be cold, Harry. You've got the wrong clothes on. He's just not getting it. I've got nothing. Every PRPC does, he misses the target. If he was throwing a dart at a dartboard, he'd hit himself in the arse. I don't know how, but he would. It's not about putting a statement out saying you'll give everything for this shirt. We know that. It's about you're not good enough, mate. It's not about giving everything. That's not what it's about. And that's just rubbish PR again. Oh, just tell them you'll give everything, Harry, and you'll win them all back. No, you'll win people back by playing like a Man United centre-back, by playing like Vidic, by playing like one of the best centre-backs in the world. And you will never do that because you're not. And that's why you should have gone to West Ham. So when he says, we didn't come to an agreement and Man United were happy for me to stay and I was happy to fight for my place and I'll give everything, he's completely missed the memo. And some people will read like that and go, oh, fair play to him. But he's completely missed that. He's publicly admitting that he hasn't got the memo. He's saying, couldn't agree a deal with West Ham. Man United were happy to keep me. I'm going to stay and fight and give everything. Yeah, that's not really the point, mate. The answer I want to know is, why couldn't you come to an agreement? And also, why are you staying to give everything when Man United want to sell you? United aren't happy for you to stay. They wanted to sell you. Like, if a club says you can go to West Ham, we've agreed the fee, they're not happy to keep you, mate. That's not how it works. If Erik ten Hag in January says, I've agreed a deal with Spurs to Jadon Sancho, you can go, and then Sancho doesn't agree the terms, Ten Hag's not going to go, yes! Oh, I'm so happy you're staying despite me saying you could go. It's just really bad PR again. Kevin Nolan's been on TalkSport. He works at West Ham. He spoke about Maguire and said, look, we're disappointed that we didn't get him. We thought we were going to get him, but effectively it just came down to money. And Maguire's admitted they couldn't do an agreement. The bottom line with Maguire and West Ham is that West Ham wanted Maguire, Man United wanted him to go to West Ham, and Maguire's team ruined the deal because they wanted money. Now, you can agree that he deserved a payout. You can say he doesn't deserve a payout. But the bottom line is West Ham wanted him, United wanted him to go, and he decided to stay at Man United as fifth choice centre-back. And that's the bottom line. That's what it is. Now, he's fortunate because obviously I think he'll play against Brighton, but you couldn't have known that in the summer. You couldn't have known as fourth choice centre-back or fifth choice centre-back that you were going to be playing games for Man United in week 5 because of an injury crisis at centre-back. He's very, very fortunate that he's going to get some game time. But look, I feel sorry for the player. He's going to play for Man United on Saturday. I hope he's man of the match. I mean, at some point, he's going to score a goal. His last 2 goals are for Scotland and Sevilla, and he doesn't play for either of them. So at some point, he will score a goal, and hopefully it will be on Saturday. And look, I want him to play well on Saturday. It's not that I think he's awful. I just don't think he should be at Man United, and I think he's proven that. But, he doesn't help himself with what he puts out there. Saying that, the West Ham thing is about greed, and I'll give everything. Well, that's not ultimately going to be enough, is it? That's clearly not been enough for the last couple of years. Also, he said, I can deal with criticism. The first 4 weeks of the season were really hard because it was 1 game a week, and the manager didn't select me, but we have lots of games coming up, and I'm sure I will play lots of games. This is coming in via Fabrizio Romano. I mean, again, look, I like the confidence. I don't really have major criticism of what he's saying there. I don't, might surprise people, but I don't really have a lot of problems with what he's saying there. I think it's good that he says he can deal with the criticism because he gets a lot of it. And I agree, the first 4 weeks of the season must have been difficult because he was nowhere near the team. He got no minutes. In fact, he only got a few minutes against Arsenal because 3 centre-backs were injured. But he says that there's a lot of games coming up now, and I'm sure he's going to play a lot of games. But the interesting thing about that is that will get people's back up. Of course it will. People will be like, what are you talking about? You're arrogant. You're going to play loads of games. What are you talking about? Of course that's going to get people's back up. But the reality is, I think he probably will get a lot of game time. I mean, I certainly think he'll play against Brighton. I don't think he's saying I'm going to get loads of good game time because I'm the best centre-back at Manchester United. I would say that, like Southgate, I mean, look, you've got an England manager saying this the other day. Southgate said there's a lot of injuries at Man United, so he's going to get a lot of games. I mean, an England manager publicly saying my first choice centre-back will get games for Man United because there's an injury crisis just is all kinds of wrong, isn't it? But I think that's probably what Southgate and Maguire have been talking about. Oh, you're going to get a lot of game time now because there's injuries. He's got to take his chance. I don't think he'll keep that chance. I think the minute that Martinez is back fit, then it will be Lindelof and Martinez, and when Varane's fit, it will be Martinez and Varane. But how long is Varane going to be out for? Martinez we'll talk about in a minute. I think Maguire probably will play some minutes over the next month or so. But what I was going to say is, and this is the mic drop moment for me, I don't think this is getting spoken about enough, and I know that you will agree with me on this, and I know we don't agree on everything, and that's the way it's meant to be, but one thing that's been completely ignored here, I was thinking about this last night, I thought I've got to bring it into the show. Rafael Varane is a reason for Maguire to stay. Rafael Varane is injury prone. And Maguire may well have at some point thought, well, it's me or Lindelof to play with Martinez if Varane's out injured, so I'm going to stay and fight for my place. If Varane was a player that could stay fit for 90% of the season, then Maguire would be a complete and utter idiot to stay at United because he'd never play. Now, some might say he's a complete and utter idiot anyway, and he won't have thought what you've just thought, but I would hope he has. I think if you look at Varane, he's vulnerable to injury, and therefore, if Varane's going to miss half the season injured, then Maguire's a little bit closer to the team. But where this all went wrong for us, because you could quite rightly say, well, why has Ten Hag tried to sell Maguire knowing that Varane is injury prone? And this is the mic drop. We knew the plan. We're playing the plan next Tuesday. Man United spent so much time scouting Kim Min-jae last season. Man United spent so much time on that deal for Kim Min-jae last season. Man United thought they were going to get Kim Min-jae, and Kim Min-jae thought he was coming to Manchester United. But Mertens and Arnold screwed the deal up, and Bayern Munich swooped in and took the player that Ten Hag had been working on all season. If Kim Min-jae had been wearing a Man United shirt, which he should have been, then Maguire wouldn't even be here. Because Varane would be out injured and Kim Min-jae would be playing with Martinez or Lindelof and Maguire would be gone. So when you want to look at why these problems exist, you know, Maguire's seen a gap. You know, he's gone, I want money, otherwise I'm going to stay at United. And I'm going to stay at United because there's a slim chance I'm going to start getting games because Varane gets injured a lot. If Man United had done their job, and look, it's very easy to blame an individual. You know, people want to blame Sancho, they want to blame Maguire, they wanted to blame Ronaldo last year. When you look at it, there's always an overarching level of incompetence. Like, Maguire should never have been given the chance to stay. When he said, I'm not going to West Ham, someone should have said, you're in the reserves, mate. If you don't go to West Ham, you're in the reserves. But Man United won't do that because we're weak. So when I look at this, the thing that frustrates me the most, and it doesn't get mentioned because, I don't know, maybe people aren't clever enough to realise it in the media. The Kim Min-jae deal, we spent months and months on. He was the number one target and he went to Bayern Munich. And then the minute that happened, where we are now happens. Varane's injured, Maguire's in the team. And it never would have happened if Kim Min-jae had come to United and Ten Hag had got what he wanted. And that's where this all started. The minute we messed up the Kim Min-jae deal, it caused a domino effect that's put us where we are now. So that Maguire's probably going to play against Brighton instead of it being Kim Min-jae. And yeah, you take that back to the Glazers because there's absolutely no way under Qatar that Bayern Munich would have been able to swoop in and offer better money than us. We would have got him. Qatar would have come in. Ten Hag would have said, I want Kim Min-jae. We've been working on it all year. Bayern Munich are going to come in last minute with an offer and Qatar would have gone, yeah, screw that. He's our player. So I would say if you want to blame anything about where we are with the centre-back situation, whether that's Maguire starting on Saturday or why he's still at the club or whatever, it should be Kim Min-jae. And the only reason it's not Kim Min-jae is because of the Glazers, Richard Arnold and John Murtagh. And I know for a fact, we've had Romano on the show, I know from conversations with Romano, I know from, what was going on last year, we scouted Kim Min-jae and put loads of work into it. And United love it. Like, the recruitment department love it that it's not getting mentioned enough because it's been swept under the carpet. But we are where we are now because we messed up the Kim Min-jae deal. And yeah, we were looking at Todibo. Definitely, we were looking at Disasi as well. But Kim Min-jae was the number one and we screwed it up. And so, that's where we are. Adam says that Ten Hag said publicly he wants Maguire to stay. Blame him. Adam, I don't know whether you've just woken up and you're in a daze, but no one's going to listen to your capital letters twat comments because, not twat, crap comments, because, might be a twat comment. I wasn't going to go that strong. Crap comment, Adam. Ten Hag did say he wants Maguire to stay, but he also said he wants him to stay and fight for his place. But he didn't say he wanted him to stay anyway. He said, look, if he wants to go because he can't fight for his place here, then maybe he should go. But Ten Hag said he wanted De Gea to stay. Ten Hag said he wanted Ronaldo to stay. He didn't want them to stay. It's a cold, harsh fact, Adam, that the captaincy was took off Maguire and he was told to leave. And he decided to stay. Now, look, if Maguire ends up being our first choice centre-back, then Maguire's won. Player power has won again. There's a lot of player power winning at Man United at the moment. Sancho's player power. He's going toe-to-toe with the manager. Who's going to win long-term? We'll have to wait and see. Maguire defied the manager. Who's going to win? He's playing against Brighton. McTominay defied the manager. Wouldn't go to Fulham. Wasn't in the squad for Arsenal, but trains the next day for Scotland. That's not been spoken about enough. There's a few. Donny van der Beek. Ten Hag wanted him to go. He's now been registered in the Premier League squad. I saw James Garner coming out today with a quote saying that Ten Hag's really strict and stern and everything like that. He probably was when James Garner was at the club a year ago. I don't think that Ten Hag exists anymore. I don't think the power that Ten Hag had last summer is there anymore. If you look at the way that Garner was treated, Eric Bailly, Tellez, you're out. Get out. Loan, sale, you're gone. Ronaldo, get out, you're gone. I don't think Ten Hag has that power anymore. You're telling me that Ten Hag will get rid of Ronaldo and be backed, but a year later he can't get rid of McTominay, Maguire, Sancho, Donny van der Beek, all of which he wants to get rid of and all of which have refused moves elsewhere. He hasn't got that much power, really. Player power still exists at United. I'm sure Ten Hag wishes he had owners and people that could back him, but look at the evidence. I'm a massive fan of Ten Hag. I think he's a great manager, but he does not have the backing people think he's got. How has he got the backing you think he's got? when McTominay refused to leave, Maguire refused to leave, Donny's refused to leave, and Sancho's refused to leave, all in the last few weeks. He hasn't got the power people think he's got. He isn't. He's not totally in control of that club. It gets leaked out that he is, but hold on a minute. I think I'll go with the evidence here. 4 players, all of which we had offers for, and all players have turned it down, knowing they can rock up to Carrington in their nice car and train and nothing will happen. In fact, they'll probably start for United. So, you know, look at it for what it is. Look at it for what it is. Anyway, just sticking with Ten Hag, bit of an injury crisis coming up this weekend. Obviously, we're going to I think I'm going to do the preview at 2:00. I haven't decided yet, but I think I might do the preview at 2:00 unless anything happens, then we can move it. But James Ducker in the Telegraph is saying there are serious doubt. Well, no, not serious. Let's not be sensationalist. He didn't say serious. He says there are thoughts to be doubts over Lisandro Martinez's availability against Brighton. Martinez has done some training with Argentina, but was substituted against Arsenal with an issue to his right foot, the same one in which he suffered a broken metatarsal that ruled him out for the final 7 weeks of last season. So look, let's start off with Martinez, because that's the one that Maguire's going to be privately praying is an injury, because he'll start without it. And don't come at me with that, you know, no player wishes that a fellow teammate's injured. Have you ever played competitive sport? I remember being playing for my school team, and we had a massive cup game on the Saturday, and I was on work experience in the week, and I said to they had a friendly on the Wednesday lunchtime, and I said, I've arranged to take a sickie from my work experience to come back and play the friendly. And he said, don't be stupid, it's only a friendly, it'll be fine. Anyway, I missed the bloody friendly, and on the morning of the cup game, he's like, I'm going to start this guy who played in the friendly ahead of you. It's only, you know, and I was like, what? Why am I getting dropped? So I was sat there on the sidelines, dropped. Stupid coach. He was an idiot. He'd have picked the team out of the hat. He was that rubbish. He had no idea about ability. But I was on the touchline, even in the cup game, going, I hope he, twists his ankle or costs us a goal, so I get subbed on. And he did cost us a goal, and I got subbed on within half an hour. We were 1-0 down, but we won 3-1. So look, if nobody else works like that, you're not ruthless. You're not aggressive enough. If I was at Man United and I was Harry Maguire, I would be hoping that Martinez is injured so I can play. You'd never say it publicly. But every footballer and every competitive person who's watching this show knows exactly what I'm talking about. If somebody starts ahead of you and they've got a bit of a knock, you're hoping they have to come off. Because otherwise, you may as well sit in the stands and be a fan. You know, you want to play. Anyway, so, yeah, look, Martinez is... Look, this is... I think that... I've got to say this because maybe a few people are thinking about it as well. Are we a football club or are we a charity? Why is Lisandro Martinez coming off against Arsenal with an injury that might be similar to the injury he had at the end of last season and going on international duty, flying to the South America halfway across the world and back? Why are we doing that? What happens when you go in a plane? The air pressure changes. If you've got an injury to your foot, why would you put your foot in a position on a plane twice where there's air pressure around it? Why would you travel? Why would you go? So I'm a little bit... Well, it's good news in a way, because I'm a little bit like, hold on a minute. If he's, I mean, somebody just said a nice little holiday, Chris. Well, yeah, maybe. But that's what I mean. We're not a bloody charity. We used to do this with Cavani. We'd let Cavani go back to Uruguay all the time, even though he was injured. Fucking hell. Do you think Pep Guardiola's... You know, I hate to say this to United, but think like Pep Guardiola. Think like Man City. Would they do it? The guy's just had a really serious injury. He's played 2 or 3 games. He's not looked fit, let's be honest. And then we're putting him on a plane to Argentina. Now, I'm sure Martinez wants to go. I get that. Nothing against Martinez. At the end of the day, if you can go, you can go. But if he's gone to Argentina and not been able to play 2 games, and then comes back and he's still injured, you've got to say he never should have gone in the first place. Now, if he comes back from Argentina and he's fit to play on Saturday, fantastic. And I think that maybe that's what's going to happen, because I can't for 1 minute think that United are stupid enough to let an injured player go to Argentina when he's injured and come back injured. He should be at Carrington recuperating, ready for the Brighton game. So I don't get why we've let him go if he's got an injury. Doesn't make any sense. Good morning, Mark. Hope you're well. What are your thoughts for Saturday's match? Also, do you think we'll have an Amrabat debut, says Nate? Well, I'm just working through that. Man United's medical team is crap, and they are stupid enough to do what you've just said, says Paul Lucas. And Sakib says, Cavani used to take 3 to 4 extra weeks off, then make one appearance from the bench and chase a few balls and show passion. So look, I actually think Martinez will play on Saturday because I think United look ridiculously naive and silly. And again, I suppose it's player power, isn't it? Why let a player who's got an injury go to Argentinian duty, not play and then come back injured? That would be really thick from United if that's happened. So I think he'll play on Saturday because I actually think there's some agreement with Ten Hag where he said, you can go on international duty, but you better be bloody fit for the Brighton game. And Martinez has said, boss, give me a fist pump. I'll be fit for Brighton. So I think he's got to play on Saturday based on him going on international duty. On Amrabat, it is a little bit more. Well, there's 2 positives, actually. Look, Luke Shaw's out. Malassia's out. Varane is out. Don't be thinking they're going to be back. Martinez could be back, and I think has to be back based on what we've just spoken about there. Amrabat and Mount, both training. There should be photos out maybe today. Both are training with the, I'd say the first team squad, but it's not the first team squad because they're all been international duty until today. But there's a really big chance that Amrabat will be involved on Saturday, and I think he needs to be involved. Brighton are a really good team. I don't think Ten Hag can afford to play a midfield 3 of McTominay, Casemiro and Bruno, or Eriksen, Casemiro and Bruno, especially if he might have to play Maguire at the back. I think he's got to get hold of that midfield, and I think Amrabat, home debut, get the crowd up. The crowd's going to be important on Saturday afternoon, so I think Amrabat will play on Saturday, and I think, look, that's the contrast, isn't it? You've got Amrabat with a little bit of a minor injury, sent back from international duty to recuperate at Carrington. You've got Martinez with an injury, going on international duty, staying on international duty, and potentially coming back with an injury. It doesn't make any sense. So, and Mason Mount, again, look, will Mason Mount make the bench on Saturday? I think he's got to be on the bench on Saturday if he wants to be involved against Bayern on the Wednesday. So, hopefully both Mount and Amrabat are involved. And I don't think we picked up any other injuries. Like, obviously, Højlund, Lindelof played for Sweden. We've seen Maguire, we've seen Rashford, Bruno. I don't think we've got any other problems. So really, it's about Amrabat and Martinez for me on Saturday. Didn't Louis van Gaal warn Ten Hag about these exact issues, says George. Yes, he did. And what if they knew he was never going to be ready for Brighton, says Yink. So what is it you're trying to say? You're trying to say that United knew Martinez wouldn't be fit for Brighton, so said travel halfway across the world and train with your Argentinian teammates instead of being at Carrington, resting up and recuperating. That would be even more thick. Look, we're all open to conversation. Maybe that's just a thought that came into your head. Some might say keep it to yourself. I don't mind having those conversations, but you don't. If Man United knew Martinez was not going to play against Brighton, you don't send him halfway around the world to look at that. I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that at all. I expect him to play because otherwise Man United look really silly sending him around the world. But we'll see. One story I did want to talk to you about from yesterday that you may well have seen was I think it was Mike Keegan talking about the Napoli player. And United's interest. Major says, hi Mark, hope you're doing well. It's my 24th birthday and my name is Edith. Happy birthday, Edith. I don't know whether you're trying to do a funny name, but I'm not reading the second name. Do you think Roy Keane would be a good manager? Random question. No. And let me just get this story. It is a new story. So Man United linked to Kvaratskhelia of Napoli. So basically, Mike Keegan of the Mail yesterday was saying that expect to see Napoli's Kvaratskhelia coming. I have to have pronounced his name wrong. Expecting to see him in the Premier League next season, and Man United are big admirers. Thoughts on Ten Hag cycling through Cheshire with no helmet on, says Chef Dave. Oh, bike wars. Can I just say, I don't get involved in bike wars. If you slag a cyclist off, you better put a helmet on yourself. I ain't getting involved in that. I don't know what it's like in your country, but cyclists, they're a rule unto themselves. Like, literally, pedestrian crossings, red only means for a car. A cyclist can run you over, apparently. You've got Jeremy Vine, with his cycle. They've all got bloody cycle cams on as well, ready to film anything you do wrong, whether it's an accident or not. Yeah, look, I ain't going to get involved. I ain't getting involved. I'm not going to get involved in that. But what I will get involved is Mojo's just gifted 10 memberships. What a legend Mojo is. He's fast becoming the legend of the chat if he's not already. Kvaradonna. Yeah, so look, he's a really good player, Kvaratskhelia at Napoli. And no doubt he will be moving from Napoli probably next summer. I would say he's more likely to go to Real Madrid, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Man United have been linked to him. I've got to call this out. I've just got to say this. I'm going to say it more and more now. Remember on Tuesday morning when that story came out from Luckhurst about United looking to sign 4 major players next summer and sell players? I'm trying to keep calm here because I'm just frustrated by this nonsense all the time. I'm like, why are we being linked to Kvaratskhelia? Why are we being linked to 4 signings next summer? It's September. It's September. Why are we getting stories about some stuff next summer? This is where we go wrong as a fan base, because we get drawn in by complete and utter nonsense that's irrelevant. And we forget that we won't buy those players next summer. They'll all be going to Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool like they did this year. We won't be buying those players. So why are we thinking about those players now? Last season we were going, is it going to be Kane? Is it going to be Osman? We got neither of them. I remember the Griezmann a few years ago. We won't get them. And you know what? I'll be completely honest with you. The club is broke. I don't know why people start thinking about Osman or Kvaratskhelia or anybody else or 4 signings. We've just spoken about Kim Min-jae. We didn't get him because we were broke. Amrabat's a loan deal because we can't afford him. We haven't got any money. So all this talk about signings and 4 signings, you are basically may as well get a stamp with I Heart Glazers on it and stick it all over your chest, because you are just literally inadvertently promoting the Glazers. Every time a United fan gets excited about we're going to make 4 signings next summer or we're going to buy Kvaratskhelia, you're just basically promoting the Glazers. Get in line, get back on track. The reality is they're trying to divert your attention and make you feel good. And if you read that and go, we're going to buy 4 players next summer, or Kvaratskhelia, you might think you don't believe it, but deep down you'll be going, oh, that sounds interesting. And they've got you. They've got you then. The minute they change, they've got people at that club who work on this. There was a guy who, was interviewed a few years ago. Gary Neville brought it to attention, who works with how to shift opinion towards a player. Do a bit of charity work. Do this. Subconsciously, the fans see you in a different light. The graph's the tide's turning. United are brilliant at it. So I sit here as educated United fan with educated United fans and go, why are there stories about Kvaratskhelia signing 4 players next year? Because we see through it. We see it for what it is, complete and utter nonsense. But others don't. They get that warm feeling inside and they get manipulated. And that's what we've been for the last however long the Glazers have been in charge. It's just complete and utter nonsense. And most of us look at it and go, that's nonsense. But it does attract other people and they start feeling good. We're not buying Kvaratskhelia and we're not buying 4 players. And people need to understand this. Ike, thank you very much for your chat. He says I'm on fire this morning. But I have got me fire top on. This is the situation with Manchester United at the moment. And nobody can tell me I'm wrong. We haven't got any money. We've got no money. We have basically done a loan deal for a player that Ten Hag wanted to sign all summer. We haven't got any money. We didn't sell as many players as we wanted to because the player power at the club is too strong. And we didn't have any money in reserve to go and buy the players that we wanted to buy at the end of the window, so we had to do a loan deal. That's not going to change in January. I've got no doubt there'll be links with us to Gakpo types or whatever, but we won't have any money in January. It will be the same old watch everyone else do stuff while we go and loan Weghorst. Next summer, there'll be loads of hype around players again, but they'll all be going to Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool while we buy, lower level players because we've got no money. So all this talk about what United are going to do next year and what they're not going to do and this, that and the other, they're not doing it. Under this current regime, we are what we are. The January transfer window was embarrassing, and the summer transfer window wasn't what Ten Hag wanted and ended up turning into a farce with players refusing to leave and not having the money left to buy the players that Ten Hag wanted. He couldn't get a centre-back in the end. He wanted Kim Min-jae at the start of the window. He ended up with no centre-back. He wanted Amrabat. He ended up having to loan him. So you can talk about Kvaratskhelia, you can talk about Osman, you can talk about signing 4 players next summer, but until the ownership profile changes, call it what it is. It's not a guess. It's not speculation. We did nothing in the January transfer window because we had no money. And this summer transfer window, at the end of it, when we should have been getting some decent players in, like a centre-back and Amrabat full-time, we couldn't do it because we had no money. So United haven't got any money. It's as simple as that. And what's going to change between now and January or the summer? Well, if they sell some players and we come in the top 4, we might be able to spend another 150 in next summer. But we won't be spending any more than that, and we won't be spending in January. So just be very wary of the spin, because we just don't have the money. We should be buying 4 players every summer, says Sean from Ireland. And how are we going to buy an 85 million player when we can't even afford a 20 million player? It's a joke, says Vlam. And also, if you know anything about Napoli are ridiculously difficult to deal with. We are not buying a player from Napoli with the current owners. It's just not going to happen because they're not thick and they don't sell cheap. And we will not be able to do a deal like that. Thoughts on Maguire's statement? Thoughts on Maguire's mum's statement? Oh. I don't even want to know. I genuinely don't even want to know. I said, look, I like Mason Mount. I'm on holiday and Mason Mount's brother is coming out tweeting. I'm like, we're Manchester United. We don't need family members protecting players. We're a football club. It's competitive sport. People have the right to an opinion. So does Maguire's brother, mother, and so does Mount's. But I never wanted I got beat up. I'm sure people loved this. I remember I was playing football on the local park once, and I got beat up by about 4 lads older than me. And my mate got on his bike and went off. And while I'm being beat up, I thought, you absolute coward. He had a racer. He legged it onto the racer and went off like Chris Boardman. I was like, they're not even chasing you anyway, and you're breaking records. He was being a coward, but he wasn't. I didn't live too far away. He went to my house and fetched my mum. I would have rather got beat up for another 5 minutes than my mum turn up to that situation. I really would. So look, it's never... I personally, each to their own. I don't really want my mum coming out to help me when I'm getting beat up or getting a bit of stick. But I don't know whether... I don't know what this is all about. And... I can't see anything on social media, so maybe people are having a bit of a laugh here because I can't see anything. But look, I think there's a chance he might play on Saturday. Oh no, here we go. I'm going to read it out. It's a news show. As a mum, seeing the level of negative and abusive comments in which my son is receiving from some fans, pundits and the media is disgraceful and totally unacceptable to any walk of life, never mind someone who works his socks off for club and country. I'm sorry, Mum, that's not going to cut it, I'm afraid. Working your socks off isn't good enough. There's a postman who supports Man United on where I used to live. Should we put him up front because he works for Man United? You see, straight away, I feel that this is just sympathy. Which obviously comes from a heartfelt place, but it's sympathy. People are talking about football, Mum. We're talking about football. Now, if there is abuse out there, fair enough, call it out. And you've got every right to have your say. But I don't like being guilt-tripped as a football fan for saying he should have gone to West Ham and he chose not to for money. He shouldn't be playing for England because he doesn't play domestic football. Like, Ben White's been treated like shit by Southgate in England. I don't see Ben White's mum coming out doing a statement. Maguire gets picked and he doesn't even play for Man United. So you can understand why people get frustrated with him because of favouritism. Now, in relation to Man United fans, we weren't even talking about him. It's England. Every time he plays for England, there's always this afterwards. What's it got to do with United? He's 4th or 5th choice centre-back. He might play on Saturday, and if he plays on Saturday, it's at Old Trafford, he'll be cheered and he'll be respected the same way he was when he was booed by England last time. If he plays for United, people want him to do well. The bottom line is, though, when everybody's fit, he's not good enough, and he should have gone in the summer because and he didn't go for money. And that's it. Is that hateful? Is it abuse? No. Do people keep saying it? Yes. Does it keep saying a lot? Yes. Is that hateful and abuse? Well, I don't think it is. People keep saying it because he's still here. You need to go, mate. You're not good enough. And trying and working hard's not enough. So I don't really get it. And I'm sure that there'll be people saying, well, you're one of the ones that do it. But look, have I called him a completely useless prat when he's cost us a goal? Yes. Have I said after a match he needs to go, he's absolutely useless? Yes. On a normal show, like today, am I sat there going, his hair's rubbish, he runs like an emu, he's, no, I don't, because I'm not in a match situation, I'm not emotional, I'm actually calm. Do I think he's crap? No. I think he should be playing for West Ham. Do I think he's a Man United player? No. Do I think he'll play on Saturday? Possibly. Is it going to make me have a heart attack and cry? No, because that means everybody's injured, so he's got to play, and I hope he does well. Do I want him to leave? Yes. Do I think he's got terrible people around him in relation to PR? Yes. Do I think Southgate treats him better than everybody else and it's unfair? Yes. Do I think Ten Hag wanted to get rid of him in the summer? Yes. Do I think he stayed for money? Yes. Do I think that was naive? Yes. Do I think that's going to wind people up when they see Harry Maguire at Man United and it could have been a Kim Min-jae or a Todibo? Yes. Do I think that's justified? Yes. Do I think people booing him is right? No. Do I think abuse about how he looks and how he plays is right? No. Do I think threats against him are right? God, no. But as I said last night, we're moving into a society now where if you criticise a player, they're trying to change the rules. Do I think it's right that people are going to get behind Maguire because of sympathy now? No, I don't. He's a footballer. He's a footballer. And really, there's been plenty of players at Man United. Ronaldo last year got treated like absolute shit. Shit by the media. Ex-players. It happens. It's a competitive sport. They're very, very well rewarded for the amazing work they've done to actually get to play at this level. But I just, every time he plays for England, we have to pick this up. And we end up having to feel guilty, but it's not us. When he went to play for England, he wasn't even in the United team and he wasn't being spoken about. He goes and plays for England and suddenly it's United's problem. It must be a bloody nightmare for Ten Hag. She goes on to say, I understand that in the football world there are ups and downs, positives and negatives, but what Harry receives has gone far beyond football. I don't think it has, to be honest. I really, really don't. What is it that's gone beyond far beyond football? I don't get what it is. I don't hear anybody criticising Maguire apart from football. I don't. For me, seeing him go through what he's going through is not okay. I would have to see any other parents or players go through this in the future, especially young boys and girls breaking through the ranks today. Harry has a massive heart and it's a good job he's mentally strong and can handle it, as others may not be able to. I wish this sort of abuse on nobody. I don't like to read that. I'm sure nobody likes to read that, but ultimately, I don't know what the abuse is. I mean, being booed by Scottish fans. I mean, look, that happens. I mean, this is one of the biggest concerns I had about. Well, not the biggest concern, but imagine if Mason Greenwood had played for Man United again. Fucking, can you imagine? Like, these things do happen. And I'm not comparing Mason Greenwood to Harry Maguire in any state or form, but the big frustration for me is that I actually said this about Southgate. You are making a bigger issue out of it than it needs to be. If Southgate had said nothing after the England game, Maguire would be back in training today, playing against Brighton, and nobody would be talking about it. But it's now going to be massive for Ten Hag again tomorrow. You know who's caused this? The media. The media have caused this. Sky yesterday, they've caused all this. And Southgate's caused this. Like, I guarantee you now, if nothing had been said by Southgate and everybody just left it, it wouldn't even be being spoken about. So You know, I think it's a bit of a drama in a teacup, to be honest. I think it's over the top. If he plays against Brighton on Saturday, that means Martinez is injured. Absolutely got no issue with it. I'd rather Maguire play against than Evans. Is that abuse? Is that hate? No. And I think every United fan feels like that. If Martinez is injured on Saturday, then it's got to be Lindelof and Maguire. No one's going, never let him play for the club again. So I just think it's over the top. And what are you trying to achieve? Like, the PR is ridiculous. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? You want people to now like Maguire because of sympathy. That's the worst thing in the world. Continue to judge him on his football. And if his football improves, he'll win people around. That's the only thing that needs to be done. The problem here, and I'm bored of repeating it, is that he should have left United. He doesn't play for United. He gets picked for England when he doesn't play for United. He refused to go to West Ham for money. There was for everybody who wants to stick up for Maguire, can I just say, if he'd gone to West Ham, no one would be moaning, because he'd be playing in a decent West Ham side starting for England, and nobody would be moaning. And Southgate would be able to say, he's never let England down, he's playing well for West Ham, he's my starting centre-back. And no one would have a comeback, apart from, I'd rather see Colwill play or whatever, but everyone says that. Look at Ward-Prowse, he didn't get picked. You know, these things happen. Everything that's going on around Maguire technically could have been resolved if he'd gone to West Ham, but he chose not to do it. And therefore, you will get people going, why is he playing for England? People are defending Maguire. However, who's defending Richarlison, who is going to therapy because of the abuse from fans? Is Tristan. Well, he hasn't got the right passport, mate, has he? And he hasn't got the right people around him. I'm just bored of it. I'm bored of it. As I say, if he plays against Brighton on Saturday, I hope he plays well. I don't care if he plays against Brighton on Saturday. I hope Martinez is fit, but if he's not fit, Maguire has to play. That's not hate. That's not abuse. That's just what's best for Manchester United. What I'm bored of is every time he goes and plays for England, there's a shitstorm and it's United that have to deal with it. And why should United have to deal with it? Ten Hag wanted to sell him. He decided to stay. It's you know what it is? You know what's getting on my nerves? We've had the Anthony stuff. We've had the Sancho stuff. The Glazers are still here. The Amrabat deal at the end of the window, and now Maguire. It's more shit for Ten Hag to deal with that he shouldn't have to deal with. And it's more shit for this fan base to deal with that we shouldn't have to deal with. We wanted to sell him, and he refused to go. And now we have to deal with this shit from England. Like, it's just baggage. It's always baggage. We've won 2 games from our first 4. We're not in a great position. The Sancho stuff is still bubbling on. The Anthony stuff is still bubbling on. And now we've got the Maguire stuff to deal with, who we tried to sell in the summer and he wouldn't go. And now we've got to get all sympathetic about that. I mean, look, he's a Man United player. If he plays against Brighton, fine. You know, let's move on. But more fucking drama. It's just ridiculous. Look, David Beckham, when he came back from the 1998 World Cup, people had dummies of David Beckham hanging from a bridge. That's abuse. I mean, what is the abuse? What is the abuse of Harry Maguire, by the way? Can somebody tell me what this abuse is? I don't know. I don't even know what it is. You're not very good and you shouldn't be playing for Man United or England. That's what I see. I mean, I guarantee you there's some horrible stuff on social media, but there's horrible stuff about everybody on social media. His mum's refereeing pundits and commentators. What commentator has said anything bad about Harry Maguire other than he shouldn't be playing for England? Oh, wow, that's abuse. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's. I don't want to. You know, I don't. We've got enough problems to deal with. Brighton are a very, very, very good side. The Sancho situation is way more important than this. And now this is going to be what Ten Hag's going to get asked about tomorrow. Troy Deeney said he got called by Harry Maguire's agents trying to protect Harry. His team are idiots. Grow a pair and move clubs. Love the show from Rob. Mate, I know I've been told this by a lot of people. I'm not getting it firsthand, but I think Maguire's agency is the same one as Rooney's. So they're quite a big agency and they've been in the football space for a long time. And apparently that happens quite a lot. And it happens with clubs as well. So, you know, look, maybe that agency should get players. If that agency's so good and so important, maybe it should get players that reflect that. Because ultimately you're ringing around trying to protect a player that doesn't even start for Man United. So, you know. But look, that's the football world, isn't it? I've always said this. I've said it for years. Maguire has got some really bad people around him in relation to, I'm not saying they're bad people in relation to they're horrible people, but some of the stuff they put out, you know, we saw it last March. You know, nobody wants to hear a Man United player saying they've got nothing to prove. Who told him to do that? The whole of the class of 92 used to get booed playing for England just because they played for United. There was more tribalism in the 90s, says Glenny Boy. Do you think we should go for Tony in January, says Anthony? We won't have any money in January, mate. We won't have any money in January. You know, I mean, I just find it baffling, really. I find it really baffling. I mean, look, Gary Neville in the Liverpool game when we lost 7-0, obviously very emotional, very stressed, Man United fan, Man United legend, basically said the captain of the club, Bruno Fernandes, was trying to sub himself off in front of millions of people. And he wasn't trying to sub himself off. I mean, is that not... That's probably one of the worst things I heard last season. Did Bruno Fernandes get a family member to come out and say that that's ridiculous? You know, I'm being abused and hated in front of millions of people. Marcus Rashford, Saka, Sancho, missed penalties in the Euros final. Instantly... mass racism on social media. I mean, the vast majority of people think Maguire should have gone to West Ham. It's not abuse. The vast majority of people can't understand why Maguire gets picked for England when he doesn't even play football, and he scored an own goal the other night. You know, is that abuse? I mean, I just think we're living in a world now where, and I said it, you know what? Sometimes I do get things right way ahead of the game. I put a tweet out yesterday and I said, football is becoming more about who's got the best PR. I mean, basically what I said is that if you've got a better PR team, it doesn't matter how good you are on the pitch anymore. It's more about your PR than it is about how you are good on the pitch. You can be popular and cheered and celebrated if you've got a great PR team and you're a shit footballer. So, you know, I just think there used to be a time where a footballer... I remember, look, Paul Pogba got loads of abuse. He was booed. The press didn't like him. You know, foreign player. You know how that works out. I remember an interview with Paul Pogba, and he said, "I don't care about the critics. I don't care about the critics. I don't care about the abuse. I don't care about people saying bad things about me, because I'm my number one critic, and they can never say what I demand in my head." Ronaldo has that same mentality as well. I mean, God, you know, Ronaldo's the greatest player in the world with Messi. Well, people might not agree with that now, but has been for the last, you know, feels like the last 30 years. Yeah, he's had a lot of praise, but he's had a ridiculous amount of abuse as well. Unfair at times. How's the foot doing? You looked healed up in the American penalties video with Angry Ginge. The Dublin video on the members channel was legendary, says Liam. That video I did with Angry Ginge was done about 5 weeks ago, so I was fit then. I'm still shooting off my left foot at the moment. Okay, crazy, absolute crazy. Didn't think we'd be reacting to a post from Harry Maguire's mum this morning, and I actually don't think, can I just say as well, I know I told that story without reading it about when I got beat up when I was about 9 and my mum came and told him off, and I'd rather have got beat up a little bit more than that. People react to that a little bit differently, won't they? I mean, again, if I'm Harry Maguire this morning, I'm saying to my mum, thank you very much for expressing your love for me, and I love you too, but you've probably done me more harm than good putting a post out, you know, because it's basically... people are just going to... Well, I'm not going to say what people are going to say. I'm 4 years younger than everyone. McTominay, 2023, says Faris Teller. Yeah, well, Scott McTominay should be called Benjamin Button now, because even though he's 27, he's 23. That was a statement that came out from him this week. He's not 27, he's 23. Yeah. Welcome to Manchester United. These players are crying over some abuse. They get away with stuff that none of us would get away with. Bunch of absolute snowflakes, says Sean Turner. I think it's the way that football's going. Somebody just said we've got some Martial news coming in. You know, don't tell me he's injured. Don't tell me he's injured. Anthony Martial left Man United's training centre just 5 minutes after arriving this morning. Anthony Martial spotted leaving Man United training 5 minutes after arrival. Look, I don't propose to speak about Martial in any great depth. All I will say is this. I'm not surprised. He was injured about 6 times last season. And, you know, it's the genius of Manchester United because, as I'll say it again, if Qatar had been here, we'd have Kim Min-jae and Maguire wouldn't even be here and we wouldn't have to deal with all this crap. And if Qatar had took over the club, we wouldn't have Martial, he would have been paid off. So there's just, he's injury prone. I like Martial the player, but he's injury prone. Wolf said he just came in to collect his paycheck. Yeah, he's injury prone. What can we do? What can we do? You know, I'd love to say that Martial will be fit for 50% of the season. I don't think he will be. So, yeah, it's problem after problem after problem. I mean, look, we're a football club. I can't wait for the football to start again. Whoever plays on Saturday, let's get behind them. It's Manchester United. I want us to do well. But, you know, everybody I speak to at the moment, and they ask me, what do you think is going to happen this season? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it could go one or two ways. It's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. Run says he's just come in. Did you see Maguire's mum's statement? She is basically saying the same stuff as Southgate. Thoughts on this? I've already reacted to it, mate. I think Beth tweeted something that actually makes a lot of sense. She said, there's a clear difference between negative criticism and abuse. Abuse is never okay, but fans and pundits should be able to have a fair opinion that is sport-based. Exactly. I completely agree. And I personally think it's over the top. I think it's over the top and it just puts more, you know, you get into a dangerous situation where what's going to happen now is people are going to start feeling sorry for Harry Maguire. And then therefore we're a charity and we're not a football club. And I keep saying this. If you go and watch a stand-up comedian tonight and you think they're crap and you heckle them, that's your right. You've paid for that ticket. It's up to you. If you go and watch a film and you write a review on Rotten Tomatoes saying it's shit, that's, you know, you're not bullying the director or the actor. You don't think it's very good, as long as it's constructive. We're getting into a world now where, you know, we're gonna start having to, you know, pick players because we feel sorry for them. And look, one thing's for sure, we've got a manager that won't subscribe to that either. Anyway, look, interesting show. Welcome to Manchester United. If you're new, this is what happens. Quote statements from players' mums. You know, statements from players slagging the manager off. Suspension of players. You know, it's just, and that's just in the last 2 weeks. Since we played the last game, Sancho's put a post out about the manager. Anthony's been suspended, and Harry Maguire has played for England and come back with a shitstorm around him, and his mum's putting statements out. I mean, you know, whatever you think about that, and I know what I think about it, but whatever you think about all that, I'm like, how the fuck is this football club being run like this? And you know what? Every one of those problems could have been dealt with at a better club. People need to stop thinking we're cursed and realise that the reason we attract shit is because we're run badly. The Sancho situation wouldn't happen if he wasn't at the club. The Maguire situation wouldn't happen if he wasn't at the club. Ten Hag wanted to sell both, and the club didn't do it. So don't blame Sancho, don't blame Maguire, blame the club, because things keep going wrong because they're not running the club properly, and problems are staying at the club that shouldn't be at the club. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. What would the criteria be for you to lose trust in Ten Hag as Victor? I think, you know what, it's really difficult. It's really difficult, and I would say this to you. How can you turn on Ten Hag in the current climate? I mean, I don't want to turn on him anyway, because I back Ten Hag. I really like Ten Hag. But what manager can work in this situation. Now, you've got Disney doing documentaries with Wrexham. You've got Netflix has done it. Sorry, Prime have done it with Arsenal and Spurs. Netflix wouldn't come near United. People go, oh, I don't know why United don't do a documentary. They wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able to. They'd walk out on day one. They'd go, we can't film this. It's not even entertainment. It's sad. It's a tragedy. Ridiculous football club. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. When I say ridiculous football club, I always want to quantify by saying there's some fantastic people who work in that football club, and there's lots of people who work in that football club, and not just players and coaches, and there's staff that work in lots of different departments that are fantastic people. What I'm talking about is it starts at the top and it dribbles downhill, and I think we all know where it starts. Thanks everyone for watching. God knows what's coming next. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.